So Cody, when you take your first wave and the whole island's there to watch, what's it gonna be like?
It's gonna be amazing. Honestly, it's gonna be the best wave of my life, and I hope the camera's rolling because you're gonna want to watch it over and over and over and over again. It's gonna be awesome.
Poor kid. This poor kid.
That was spectacular. Whoa!
I'm number one, the tank.
Hey, there we go. And that is the way we're kicking off Sending Sunday this week. Obviously, Fiji is going on. So I haven't prepared anything. We're going live. We're going to be speaking to Paul Van Bellen, who's obviously in Fiji, get a bit of lowdown from the day, because the footage we're watching now was obviously from the first day. It wasn't live streamed, but it is all online. And I'm sure all of you have seen it. That spectacular, crazy crash from the reigning world champion, Marsilio Brown. Now, I know I'm probably doing this overkill, but that is the craziest, I think, wipeout I have ever seen. And I'm not just saying that. I've seen a lot of wipeouts. That's what I do. I'm like a wipeout connoisseur. And we're going to watch it again because it is absolutely insane. Like insane. I really have never seen it. And when you watch from the drone, when you're watching this footage, like, don't get me wrong, you're watching this footage, we've got the drone on, you're like, yeah, it looks pretty big. The drone's higher, so it makes the wave look smaller. When you see the shots from low down, you realize how big and how heavy that wave is. Well, actually, probably you don't realize how heavy it is, but when you watch this wipeout, you realize how much punch that lip's got. I mean, that is insane. I mean, that's a proper... I mean, I've done that at Margaret River, my first wave at Margaret River, Surgeon's Table. I mean, they've got a shish kebab reef in Margaret River in Australia. It's called the Surgeon's Table. It's already terrifying. Shish kebab. Yeah, that's a nasty name for a reef. But like I said, you come up and it hit me so hard, something similar happened. But I didn't go around 3 times. That is just absolutely insane. Insane. Like, I don't think some of the video can do it justice to what the riders were actually going through. I have a feeling, after speaking to a few of them, it is heavy, hectic stuff. You know, guys are getting barreled. It is insane. And obviously, if you the other edit that I put on, which was the Jace Panabianco one, I mean, that's a pretty cool edit. Oh, well, we'll just let it play. This has got a mix on the reef, and also obviously from the drones to everything. You see some of the ways how big and heavy they are from that lower angle. It's brilliant. Like, obviously the fact that he's one correct hit where he gets so much punch for that thing. Overmatched and a bit high. So good. So good. Right. Obviously, going to give you, like I say, if you're just tuning in, just to give you a little bit of a rundown of what happened today, because we have had results. If you are just waking up, if you haven't managed to catch up, I'm just going to give a quick overview. The only thing that I have got is have looked through the live stream, like probably quite a lot of you. So we're going to do that. We're going to get Paul Van Bellen in, who's going to join us from Fiji. He's going to give us a bit of a lowdown of what's been happening on the beach. We're maybe going to have a look at a bit of the live stream. I might just play the first day in the background just to give you just some visuals to look at. Okay, apparently you can't hear me talking when the video is playing. That is a disaster. Okay, wow. Well, okay, let's go back. Let's go, Mr. Paul. Let's get him in here. Let's add him in.
Do you think you could find something that we can put it on?
Yeah.
You're live.
Hello. Sorry, we're still trying to set this thing up. I've got my friend George here. Rather than us holding this camera, we're just going to perch it on something just so we can all watch you rather than... Oh, look. He's getting a box. Where's the box?
Oh, it's
Excellent.
professional. It's professional. Your mic's a bit low.
Look at that. Hold on. Gotta do this. Oh, look, Bern, you're in the podcast.
I'm in there, yeah. I already did a little wave. Cute little wave.
The wave is on. Burnt Rodiger. Okay, so firstly, everyone's just waking up in Europe, Paul. Everyone's just waking up. Everyone's kind of scratching through the live stream, I guess, just skimming through, trying to get a bit of an idea. Just give us a bit of an update from over there, how it was for you guys, and you know, sort of just a bit of an update from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Well, the experience that I had was a fair bit different than the experience that Burnt had as a competitor, because I was basically on a media boat. It's like this big catamaran, and it was only media people were allowed on it. So sailors have their own, I don't know, what do you call those boats? Like
long boats.
Yeah, long boats. Like, you know, they're like these pretty long, skinny sort of boats. But it was an experience for me because, you know, trying to get this light. I filmed a lot of it with my phone. So in the upcoming days, I'll create a, you know, a backstory video. But just the whole setup of that live stream and the amount of equipment and everything it took just to get what you saw, like to see it with your own hand, you know, your own eyes, you just like, it just seems like so you know, so much effort, you know. It was amazing. It was pretty interesting to see.
Like I said, I've had a little scratch through it now. There's a few people said they couldn't find it. Just in case you're tuning into this to watch the live stream has happened. They're down to the final 8 in Fiji. The live stream is on the IWT World Tour, World Wave Tour, YouTube page. And you have to go to the live tab to find it. So I will put a link on Windsurfing TV if people are looking for that later. But it is on there, and they've done, they're down to the semi-finals now. So final 8 guys.
So,
and there was a couple of upsets from what I saw.
So can you just repeat that, because someone was just being loud in the background? So what was the
No, I was just giving an update for the guys here to say the live stream, because not everyone found it, you know, because it's not obviously in the usual place, because the IWT, you know what I mean? Then it's on the IWT YouTube channel.
Oh, I know. I guess that's people have to get their head around the idea that there's two windsurfing channels now. Well, for now, anyway, I guess. Yeah.
I'm just, Paul, just while you're there, because I've just put it on live. For people who don't know, I'm just going to run through a quick run of the results of what happened today. So first heat, we had Ricardo Campello, Antoine Albert, Bernd Rodiger, Liam Dunkerbeck. Top 2 riders, Ricardo Campello and Antoine Albert. So Antoine Albert, like I say, mostly known for his freestyle, but comes from New Caledonia. I mean, that's an upset, you'd have to say. Bernd Rodiger's sitting there. Maybe we should have a chat with Bernd, because it was definitely not as big as the first day. Any thoughts from today, Bernd?
Hold on, let me just swap seats so you can see him a bit better.
Swapping seats. Hi, Ben. Yeah, so I guess, you know, my experience was the same as the other half of the bracket that didn't make it through and didn't advance today. It was a tough day, you know. Their waves were pretty slow, and you had to be very selective. And the one thing that both Antoine and Ricardo were really good at in my heat was just being super selective and getting just what they needed to get the scores. None of the scores were super high today, but it was obviously very clear to see who got the sets, you know, because their scores were just that little bump above everybody else's. So, so I spent a lot of time probably wasted a lot of time on waves that probably weren't ever really going to give me a score. And yeah, I think that was probably a similar case for a lot of people that ended up getting eliminated today. So
yeah, I had a quick look through the live stream, like woke up this morning, kind of quickly scratched through, trying to find some key moments, and it looked like that. Those long waves were, you know, the bigger ones, but there was like this inside section which almost looked like a different wave. It kind of had a different ripple on it, and if you made it onto that one, then you got this whole other section of the wave.
Yeah, exactly. Positioning is everything with a wave like Cloudbreak, and like you said, it wasn't even necessarily that it was the biggest waves. It was just like a special kind of wave that comes in the reef at a very specific angle, and then it just opens up and allows you to do that extra bit that's going to get you a point higher than any other wave could possibly do. So yeah, you know, it becomes a very interesting game. I mean, it's different and more nuanced, and there's more technique to it even than I would say like a Hokipa contest. Where like a Hokipa contest, it's like you go out, you catch the second or third wave in a set if it's a big day, and you're good, you know, and then it's just up to what you're going to do on that wave. They all pretty much set up as a closeout, and you try your best to get like 3 turns in. But on a day like this at Cloudbreak, it's like you got to be really selective about getting that perfect setup for, you know, a lot of really good turns, and then you have to make it happen on that wave.
What did we see? Because again, I had a quick scan through the live stream. Was there any tricks on the waves today, or is it literally airs and turns, or playing it quite safe? Because obviously them set waves weren't coming very often, or the long waves, you didn't want to mess it up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see any tricks. I did one attempt, didn't make it. Did you see anything, Paul?
I'll be honest, the whole day was a blur for me because I was running around like a headless chicken, but I'll explain that later. Seriously, it was just a blur. Yeah. It was a blur for me, personally.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody was really doing any tricks. I think that, again, with Cloudbreak being this size, it was actually in some ways more challenging than when it was big, and there wasn't a lot of space. I guess it was a little bit like Cape Verde when it was super small last year when we ran that contest. Yeah. And it was like, yeah, you could probably fit something in, but then the rest of the section would close out on you. So you were really racing past the reef in a lot of circumstances. The only person that I felt like that I saw look just super comfortable and had just like immaculate timing and seemed to have all the time in the world to do whatever he wanted to do was Baptiste Clorec.
Okay.
And it's pretty crazy because, I mean, like, he was seemingly the standout in the round one, day one. And he's kind of the standout today as well, with some super impressive rides and just like really, really good timing. So he made it look like it was a different day than most of the other guys who were out there.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, from doing a lot of live stream, you can usually tell someone who's just on their game because it looks like a different spot. They just go, like Victor's a classic of doing this in some horrible conditions. And you're like, is he sailing the same spot as everyone else? Like and it's like you say, Baptiste, to make it look like he did on the first day when it was just looked insane. And then to back it up on the small day, that's maybe a sign.
Oh, I totally think so. Like, you know, when day one was over and we looked at all the footage and you know, the riders get to talking and stuff like that, everyone was like, oh yeah, you know, well, Baptiste, you know, he was super impressive and he really went for it, but, you know, how long is that going to pay off? Because it's very risky, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, after seeing it today, you kind of got to reassess, because to me, it more so looks like he's just in a groove. Like, he's just on another level in terms of his comfort, and he's just finding a really good rhythm. Because, I mean, even on the first day when it was big and there was, like, lots of consequence and stuff like that, I mean, he only wiped out once on a wave that was, like, really gnarly and was probably going to be impossible to make. Everything else that he did was spot on and super sick. So I don't even think it was, like, a go for broke type of thing. It's just, I mean, Camille had it last year. Camille definitely had it last year where he was just totally in tune and was kind of a step above everybody else in terms of riding the wave.
Yeah. What sort of gear was he using? Was he using the same gear as he was on the big day?
Yeah, I mean, I assume that he was. What's really cool about Baptiste and his gear, and I just found this out, is that he's actually had like a hand in making like, almost every element of his kit. Like he's handmade his fins. He designed his board, and now it's a production, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
And then I think he got like the design file for his sail, and then tweaked it, and then like cut out all the pieces for the sail and stitched it together himself. So
Really?
yeah, yeah. So I mean, you'll have to try to get a hold of Baptiste and talk to him about his process and like all this building that he's been doing. But I guess he's taken that custom element of it and he's just totally run with it.
That
He's sort
seems
of like making,
mad.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like, and I know Baptiste, and he always comes across as just some crazy French kid. I don't want to label him as just this crazy French kid, but I didn't have him down for like, I mean, maybe that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I always like, I sail with him and he's just nuts. He hits everything. I saw him sail in Cape Town at like this outer comp, and it was horribly massive and just ridiculously windy. You could hardly bottom turn, and he was just smashing the thing, and it was quite crazy. So it didn't surprise me on the first day, I gotta be honest.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, clearly there's a lot there, you know, and again, I think it's just like the riding thing where it's like, you know, yeah, he's going for it, but he clearly is not just a crazy French kid. I mean, clearly he's got a plan, and he's quite smart, and he's putting together gear that is seemingly working really well for him. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's also super interesting to me to see a port tack down the line. Now, people are getting confused with this because when I say port tack down the line, it's actually starboard tack, like riding. But when we talk about port tack, starboard tack, we usually talk about the wind from the left or from the right when you're heading out. So it does get confusing because I've had a few comments about that. They're like, it's not port tack. I mean, it's like a port tack spot, like
it's a port tack spot.
Yeah, it's like like starboard tack would be a hook keeper spot, but you're riding on port tack. So we don't usually get riding this way round in down the line, but there's a lot of people that train it. You know, you look at Leon, you look at, Baptiste is a classic example. Goes to Cape Town every year, has been smashing these type of waves for ages, but on tour we haven't had many. Well, we haven't had many down the line, full stop. But we haven't had particularly this way round. So it's really interesting to give them a chance to shine.
Yeah, no, it is super cool, and I mean, you know, we've had a couple of dabbling in terms of like novelty waves on the IWT and stuff like that. You know, Pocket Smile is like the longest wave, and it can be really cool. It can be on its day really high performance. And the same thing with Chile. Chile is, you know, full of just like incredible waves. This obviously is another level. I mean, this is something that, you know, the conversation goes into, well, what's better, Cape Verde on its best day or Cloudbreak on its best day for windsurfing, you know? And it's
what's
like,
the verdict?
It's still out. Like, it's still out because, you know, you've got all the Cape Verde guys that are like, no, it's way better there, or, you know, or at least like I've had way better days there, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I think that's the really cool thing about including, you know, hopefully an equal number of down the line events going left or right, starboard, port, whatever you want to call it. It's just that it opens the conversation to, well, what's the best wave? Which is kind of like the conversation that happens on the WSL. You know, they don't even really specify anymore about lefts, rights, or whatever, because it's just about like, well, what is the wave like? What's the quality of the wave?
Yeah.
You know, because everybody is equally capable on their backhand or front hand. And I do kind of feel like when you see these guys sailing, I mean, of course, there's some port tack down the line sort of specialists, people who train it all the time. I'm not one of them. But everybody's doing really good. Like, everybody seems to be able to switch and transition pretty quickly, especially in a wave like Cloudbreak where it's so perfect. So yeah, it's kind of cool because it makes me think of a surfing competition in the sense that you don't just have one direction. You know, you don't just have like a way that you surf. It's like, no, I can surf either a left or a right. Maybe I favor one or the other, but I'm equally sort of competitive in both.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's really refreshing to see. I mean, it broadens everybody's horizons across the board.
Yeah, no, it's for me, it's super interesting to watch. And what I like about the sort of wave only competition is you do get that more surfy feel where there are a few more upsets because, like you said before, you've got to have wave selection. You know, there is a bit of luck involved. You know, there's obviously lots of skill, don't get me wrong, but there is that element of luck. Whereas in the jumping kind of pozo comps, you can't get lucky. You literally, if you do your routine and you stomp the best tricks, you probably can kind of work out who's going to go through within reason. Whereas, as I've already just looked at the results now, there is this element of wave selection, and there's a different things coming in, different techniques of patience versus maybe scratching out all the little waves and the set doesn't come and then it pays off. And so there's decisions to be made.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's actually really funny because everybody that I've talked to, you know, that's been on the losing end of their heat, they've all had like a different reason that they've come up with as to why they lost. Like for me, I'm like, oh, I didn't get like the big ones or I didn't get the long ones. But then like Federico, for example, like he got some of the best and longest waves. And he's like, I should have stayed busier. Like I should have tried to catch more like smaller waves and stuff like that. And like actually gone for it a little bit more because I waited basically the entire heat to catch like couple of waves, and I rode them kind of safe because I only had so many.
Yeah.
And then I paid the price for it because the other guys were sitting on the inside and had so many at bats that they could just progress their score throughout the heat. So yeah, so it's one of those days I feel where you just kind of had to be lucky, like you just had to be in rhythm with what was going on.
Yeah.
And you had to have a certain amount of things kind of go your way.
Yeah.
And then of course, you know, when you're whatever Monday night quarterbacking or just, you know, reflecting, you know, you always come up with a reason as to why, you know, why it didn't work in your favor.
That's so interesting you say that because that is exactly how it is. Because whatever you do, if you lose, there will be one of the two things that you did. You either played it too safe, you know, or you went too much, you know, like, and it doesn't matter actually, because if you go through, you're like, oh, I'm glad I played it safe. You know, that was a good tactic.
Right.
If someone goes a bit crazy, like, I knew I should have. It's like, it's a classic competition kind of
100%.
afterthought thing.
100%.
Brilliant. So just talk me through your gear, because I found this really interesting. I was watching, obviously, Paul's behind the scenes video. I've been kind of hooked at them. They've been super interesting, really insightful. You rock up. You've got a brand new board that you've never used. And you're like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to use that on the first day. And I found that just insane to me. And the same thing happened in Cape Verde. And I'm like, is this guy just fucking believing in the stars or something? Or what's going on?
I mean, look at me. I'm showed up to this wearing my kimono, like. No. I mean, I really do have quite a bit of faith in Flicka and Luca as a shaper. You know, everything that he's made for me at this point has been just gold, and I always get so excited in terms of like getting a new board, getting something new to sort of like play with, that I feel like riding that energy at the same time that you're sort of trying to make a contest, you know, more exciting for yourself or trying to get into the flow of a contest, I feel like helps. It kind of helps sometimes to have a new board. And that board was just like such a cool, like everything about it was so cool. Like it was an asymmetric, the first time I'd ever had an asymmetric windsurf board. It was asymmetric for port tack. So it was like, I really was like, okay, I got to make the most out of it while I'm here at Fiji.
Well, that's what I thought. I was thinking, what's he going to do with it after this? Like, stick it in the shed and like, I don't know. Or maybe it works good on the other way. Who knows?
We'll never know. We'll never know.
Oh, is it broke?
Because it's broken in half.
Oh, you're joking.
I
heard somebody say that on the live stream, and I thought, oh, maybe he's just smashed the back end on the reef or something. It's
totaled.
Oh no!
I know. So you know, Fiji is actually not a common like board breaking wave. I mean, I guess unless you were in like a perfect spot. Usually, especially the day that we sailed on day one, which was high tide the entire time that we were running, the gear will just rush over the reef, and maybe you break a mast. But I had the misfortune of my gear basically weaving a perfect course right into the old WSL judging tower, which at this point is just like a cement block with a couple of posts sticking out of it.
I saw a couple of pictures.
Yeah, so it just sort of weaved its way like right in there and got lodged. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty harrowing actually, because there's footage of it, which is gonna go out at some point. But it's it's pretty gnarly because I'm basically there with the gear trying to sort of pick it off of the cement slab, and it just continuously keeps getting beat by like wave after wave after wave. And eventually it just starts to crease, and then you can see it buckle, and then the next wave you can see it just completely snap in half.
Oh no.
So it died a slow and painful death after one day of use.
Oh no.
I
didn't know that. I'm laughing, but
no, yeah. It really was. It was just crazy. Like, it was crazy. Like, we were thinking about it, at the end of the day, we were sitting here and we were like, what even are the odds of this happening? I mean, because it's a big ocean and there's only one post, and it wrapped around one post in that space. It's pretty crazy.
How was it?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was the best board I've ever had. But no, it will be remembered fondly. And I mean, if you saw the video, then you saw how cool the graphic was on it as well. Like, it was a really neat looking board. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, at least you got a few good pictures on it. I mean, there's a few nice ones. There's one lovely. It's like, that looks pretty decent.
It didn't disappear in obscurity. No, it definitely has its day in the sun for sure.
Just from my own curiosity, were you gonna try it at Hookkeeper the other way around? Just out of interest.
Oh, I was so looking forward to like a whole season of experimentation with like, does an asymmetrical board have to be made for like one direction of sailing?
Yeah.
Like, I personally don't believe it. I don't think that that's the way that asyms work at all. Like, I think it's more of a body thing. And I kind of thought that if you're a starboard tack sailor, then you could think of that as being like your dominant side. Like, that's the side that you really click with, because it's the side that you practice with the most. And then if your port tack riding is always a little bit more finessey. It's always a bit more like you need a little bit of help basically to make everything work. I kind of felt like that would be one element of asymmetric, and that there would be so many things to experiment with, in terms of like asymmetric fin setups, and the list goes on. So it was definitely a bummer to snap it on day one and not get to go through that whole testing journey.
So just for the people out there who probably don't know, do you want to explain what the normal kind of idea of an asymmetric is? Like the longer line and the shorter line, just for people who don't know, because there'll be people out there who don't understand the normal concept. Whether it works the other way, we don't know, but
yeah. So for surfing, in surfboard shaping, an asymmetric is generally shaped in a way that the toe side rail is going to be the longer rail and the heel side rail is going to be the shorter rail. So whatever side that you face normally when you're surfing, whether you're regular foot or goofy foot, the toe side is going to be your long rail. And then if you're windsurfing, then it's the predominant tack, basically, which I know we're using that incorrectly again, but the predominant tack that you're wave riding, if you're at a starboard tack spot, then, you would be going right. So then your right-hand rail would be the long rail.
The long rail. And that's just to promote like comfort on the rail, bottom turn, longer rail line. Yeah. And then having
kind of like a better, drivier sort of outline on the bottom turn side, and then a looser, sort of hookier rail on the top turn side to sort of like accentuate both qualities of those very different maneuvers.
Yeah. So then the other way round, you end up with a shorter, sharper bottom turn.
Yeah.
I mean, it could work. It could work
It could be, it could be quite sick. So, there's already sort of a contingency, at least in the surfing world, of like California shapers that are starting to shape asymmetric boards flipped. And the idea there is that you actually have a lot more balance on your toes than you do on your heels. And so when you're pushing on your toes, you have a much quicker reaction time, and shorter, quicker bottom turn is something that's very useful when you're on your toes.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're surfing on your heels, everything takes a little bit longer. Like you really have to be a little bit more deliberate with your actions because you don't have the same on the balls of your feet style balance. And I feel like with windsurfing, it could be very similar. Like, windsurfing, a bottom turn is, I mean, it's not easy in any sense of the word, but it's super manipulatable. Like you can just kind of do whatever you want as long as you set it up correctly. Whereas like a top turn is so dependent on your bottom turn. Like your top turn will never be as good if your bottom turn is all kind of wonky and messed up and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought that there would be a lot to play with there, and I mean the Flicka guys, they're pretty prophetic in terms of like making really cool boards. So I'm sure that the opportunity will come again.
Oh dear, man, that's like almost hard. Like for the guys out there who you don't get many new boards and stuff. And I'm sure they followed that story a little bit and was like, oh, and then it's like, oh, it's gone. It's a quick love story. Bum.
I know. Yeah, no, I mean it's super wild, and I mean it's no easy feat getting a board that's made in Slovenia to a rider in Hawaii. So it took effort on everybody's part. Like actually, Leon took the board from Europe and brought it here for me. So yeah, it was quite the ordeal.
You need to, like, in your own way, you need to make a story about the board, but be a personality, and its journey through life.
Like he was just
quite a crazy story.
He was just always like a troubled soul, he had a hard but short life, and that's the only the consolation for him was that he didn't have to live long.
Oh shit. Oh, okay. Okay, so back to the competition. Obviously, not to say anything, you're out at the moment, but do you want to just talk us through the draw? Who you thought were standouts? Did you see much of the comp today? Obviously you're in it, but did you see many of the heats?
Yeah. So again, I gotta say Baptiste, he was a very clear standout. Super impressive watching him. There were a lot of people that lost that I thought were standouts just in the way that they've been.
Go through some of them. I think that's really interesting.
Like Leon, for example. Leon was somebody who I had as advancing through the heat. Sorry, I know I'm jumping around a little bit.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, Leon was definitely somebody who I thought was going to make it. He had like a really cool, like vertical, very snappy approach that I felt like was really good for the wave as it was today, because it didn't really offer up like a whole lot of down the line racy style, and he was connecting with a lot of good sections. Again, I think it just came down to one or two waves coming through that lined up, and then that's kind of just kind of did him in.
Actually, I saw a wave from Sugi, like I say, when I was scanning through the live stream, and he had one that connected kind of all the way through, which I'm guessing was one of his better scores.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And of course, Antoine winning that heat, he's another guy who has a really good read on this wave. I mean, he's super impressive surfing this wave.
Yeah.
He's gotten some really big barrels. Again, we all know he's quite fearless. Which in a small day like that, you think it wouldn't necessarily factor in, but there is a certain amount of craziness that you need to have in order to sail that close to the reef.
Yeah.
And of course he's got it, and being so familiar with the wave because he's surfed at all sizes definitely has helped him quite a bit. And he always lofts when he airs. Like his airs always turn into like these 2 stages airs. You know, he sort of like gets projection, and then suddenly that sail sort of picks up the wind, and then he's back up again. He's going higher, and then he lands. So it's always very it's a spectacle for sure to see.
Yeah.
He had a couple of those, and it definitely sealed it for him, for sure. I know in going back to Morgan and Baptiste, I know that Flo started out really strong. I think he was sort of hovering around top 2 for a minute. At least that's what it seemed like. But he got his strongest waves at the beginning.
Okay.
And yeah, so again, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, oh man, like between Baptiste and Flo, this heat is basically like sealed up. And then all of a sudden, again, a set came through and everything changed. So yeah, so nobody was safe. I guess that was an example.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. But Anthony's in the top 8. I mean, obviously he's caused some upsets before in Silt, but like Cloudbreak, I'm pretty sure he'd be buzzing right now. He's in the final 8 riders.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, you know, these are guys that I mean, let's be honest, like in the free sailing, they don't catch as many waves.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just kind of the nature of the beast, you know, because like there's so many sailors out in that hour, or I think even this time it was like 2 hours before we started the contest, and everyone's flying around, you know, up and down the peak, taking waves and getting right back up into the takeoff spot and taking another wave again. So there's a group of guys, and Anthony's right in there where it's like he's just not catching as many. And so he's not getting the same level of practice. He's not getting the same level of comfort. You know, when we're surfing, he's not taking off in the same spot. So it's like it is very impressive because he's getting into the heat. You would say at a disadvantage right from the get-go, and then he's able to pull it out. That's pretty impressive. Pretty cool.
What sort of gear was everyone using today? Just give me. I know there's lots of different sizes of sailor and stuff, but what was kind of the general type of stuff, like float and ride stuff, 5.0s?
Yeah, nobody was really on anything that big. Like Leon has a 82 and a 90 something, but he was on his 82, and pretty much everybody was riding like their kind of intermediate, kind of smallish gear because they had anticipated for the wind to pick up through the day. The warm-up session kind of started out as a bit of a slog, but at the same time, it was a really great exercise for everybody to sort of like stay really close to where the wave was breaking, and nobody was really catching any sets from super far outside. So that was another kind of way for everybody to sort of see exactly what was happening with the wave and where it was breaking, where you could take off, et cetera, et cetera. But then, like as soon as we called the heats on, the wind sort of like kicked up another notch, and then people were kind of like subplaning on really regular gear. Like I was on 4.3 and a 75-liter board, and I was
really
cruising. Yeah. So it was not the same as day one, where day one really was like once you kicked out into the channel, you were like immediately sinking, and you were like having a pretty hard time getting past that initial lightness. On the outside, the wind is always super great, but it just rarely ever bends around the wave all the way and fills into the inside. So the inside's always a bit of a fog.
I was going to say, is that anything to do with current getting pushed off the reef? You kind of losing pressure, or it doesn't affect it so much, maybe?
Yeah. So the current is really strange here at this wave, and it's similar to a lot of other reef passes, in the sense that on high tide, the lagoon behind the reef will fill up with water. So then at a certain point at high tide, it starts to actually drain out through the reef pass. So the current will change from running from the peak out to the channel to running from the channel up to the peak. So sometimes you'll be sailing and you'll be making all this incredible upwind progress, and you'll be like, how am I doing this? It's not even that windy. And it's like, oh, the current's actually taking me right up into the lineup again. So that was our day one because it was relatively high tide. And then actually today, because we were running in low tide, the current was switched, it was opposite, and it was actually dragging us pretty aggressively down from the peak back into the channel towards where the boats were.
Okay. 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 So so today, just to recap for people who don't know, Ricardo Campello, Baptiste Claret, Antoine Albert, and Anthony Runes. I'm pretty sure people wouldn't have put the two Albert and Anthony through, but fair play, they are into the last 8. And then Robbie Swift, Antoine Martin, Mark Paré, and Takuma Sugi. That's your final 8 riders.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. And tomorrow is supposed to be epic. I mean, it's supposed to have a really great swell, and the wind looks pretty promising. So it's definitely going to be a pretty sick final to watch. Yeah. And all those guys are obviously going to kill it.
Okay. Well, good, man. Thanks for that update. That's been amazing. That's like, for me, watching this type of stuff is just invaluable because you just can't get it from the live stream. I know I've done the live stream because you can only do that, but this sort of stuff afterwards, I really enjoy watching it and listening to it. Even though I'm doing this, it's not because I've told you, but just listening to you, I should say, it's really I really enjoy it.
Well, I mean, it's also really great having Paul here as well to do the behind the scenes and stuff like that because, I mean, this experience of everybody sitting around a table eating dinner and talking about the day and stuff like that. I mean, it really is super cool. I mean, it's the main reason for wanting to go and actually participate in one of these events or compete in one of these events, because it's just like one big long windsurfing session. The sort of windsurfing never sort of leaves the conversation,
Yeah.
And it's been like a real pleasure talking about it with you because, I get to sort of reflect on it and relive it, and there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
That's the thing. It's very difficult. I mean, I've done these events before. And it's so difficult to do what Paul's doing, to do what everyone's doing, you need people. Like, it really does. Like, I know how much effort it takes. And people think it's like basic stuff because, you're going around on the phone. But still, just even that whole thing is so difficult to actually put into time. And also what I do like about watching this Fiji event for me is you guys are all in one place. So we don't always get that same vibe. Everyone leaves the beach, they go off to their own houses, and you lose that competition kind of feel. Whereas this, from the outside anyway, looks so cool because everyone's there, everyone's in it, And it's, I mean, if you could do this at every competition, it'd be amazing.
No, it really is that way. I mean, it's like everybody's in this kind of daily rhythm, this flow together. In terms of making a plan for the day and then getting out on the boats is a whole ordeal to get out to Cloud Break, and it's definitely an adventure for sure. And so people have a lot to share with each other in this event, and a lot to share with everybody that's watching.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, I think this event will run way past when it finishes. So like, I'm already thinking, wow, there's so much to now talk about with other riders after the event's finished, there's loads of stuff that can kind of carry on, which is it's interesting, very interesting. But good to hear the stories. I'm sorry to hear about your board though. I'm laughing, like I said, it's almost comedy, if you didn't laugh you'd cry.
It's okay, I have a bowl of ice cream at home to cry over.
I was like, Jaeger, Jesus. And where's Jaeger? I mean, he must be watching this thinking, maybe I should have, would have, could have had a go.
Yeah.
It would have been very interesting to see him.
Hopefully we'll be here next year and we can do it again.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, dude.
Cool.
Thanks for that.
Thanks, Ben. Shoots. Here you go, Paul.
Okay, so Bernd Rodiger there. I just heard like the beginning of this podcast when the video is on, you couldn't hear what I was talking about. So my whole intro, if you have listened to the beginning and go, this weird intro, it's probably because I was talking when the video was playing. Anyway, whatever. Live.
Hey, Benny, how's the
How we
hair
doing, man?
contrast between my head and his head? It was embarrassing sitting next to Bert with the amount of hair he's got.
I know. Tell me about it. I used to have long hair. How about you? Did you used to have long hair?
Yeah, I know. What's that?
I said, did you used to have long hair?
Actually, there was at one point I had long hair, but I mean that's some pretty impressive mane.
So what I was going to say to Bern is, I used to have long hair too. So don't get
We're the
don't
same
get
age,
too
I know.
carried.
Unfortunately, it starts to disappear at some point for some of us. But I am so glad that Bern just got on the video there, because he explained all those things 1,000 times better than I ever would. So thank you.
No, but that's amazing. That's what you want to hear. I mean, it's the hardest thing to do, and credit to Bern, because when you've been knocked out, honestly, most of the riders gone. If they go through, most of the riders gone. So it's like they've gone through, so they're too serious, they don't want to chat, or they're out and they're too upset, they don't want to chat. And you're left going, there's a lot of people out there wanting to hear that sort of stuff. You know, like, whatever. I think it's really interesting to build on that stuff. That's what makes people interested in competitions. It isn't just the result. It isn't just that. It's the stories and the feelings and all that behind it.
Oh, definitely. And my head's been spinning for this contest, because, as you know, I've been doing these behind the scenes videos, but it really is just a fraction of what potentially you could have gotten. I mean, there's a lot of people here, and there's only so much I can do. And, like I'm on the boat today, constantly filming the drone. Like if you watch the live stream, there was probably like a 4 or 5 minute gap between drone shots sometimes. That's obviously because it wasn't because I was sitting around just taking it easy. It was down, running around, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Like it was pretty full on. In the meantime, I'm looking over my shoulder and someone's just been told they've won a heat, and they're like shouting in the water, and, there's a person over there complaining, and I'm just there going, who's filming that? Get on there. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, there's so much going on. There's
a lot, like, I'm sure it's going to come out in your videos, but there's a lot that people don't see when everyone's moaning, when's the video coming out? Oh my God, when's this? You're like, I know from experience, no one's slacking. If there isn't a video out at that point, the guys who are making the video are more anxious than you guys at home waiting for it. Trust me. It's not like they're going, we'll have a beer now, we'll just pack up for the night. Most people are working till 2, 3 in the morning, and eyes are burning. You're like,
it's been like it's been an interesting experience, and I've spoken to you most days, giving you updates and sort of trying to share with share my experience, but I'm basically just running on adrenaline at the moment. I've really slept only a few hours every night.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm doing it. It's so weird. It's really odd. But like today, anyone who's interested, you can find my channel and have a look at the video. But in the coming, I won't be able to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be on the reef filming again. It's another busy day. But in the days after, when I get a chance, I'll throw some videos out of what it was like on the media boats. And it's just crazy the amount of effort that's put into it all. So is that? Can you hear the background?
Yeah, I can. It's actually just got.
Yeah, I might just move. Oh, actually, do you guys want to? We just talk later.
No, we did hear we had the snooker competition going on. That was.
I can move, but it's a bit harder. What's that? So what's that, Benny?
We did see the pool competition going on in the background. We heard that. There's some
hold on.
Going down.
Okay, just bear with me, Benny. I'm going to move. All right, hold on. 1 sec. What's this? Can you just move that beer? Hold on, Benny.
Move that beer. Oh, hello. Oh, the truth's out.
Oh, good. What's that? You can look at the ceiling.
We're on the move.
There we go. There we go. So, where were we? Let me set that up. See, this is all this behind the scenes stuff. It's all very casual.
Yeah, no, that's good. Just a question. A few people have asked this, but did you get close to losing the drone at any point in the last days?
Well, this is good. Look, there's a Fiji. It's got the poster in the background. That looks very official.
Pro.
Yeah, that's even better. I should have done that in the first place, shouldn't I? Did I almost lose the drone? No, it wasn't too bad. The sketchiest part was, and I couldn't film because I'm the one on the controller, but it was the taking off and landing. Actually, the taking off was fine. It was the landing. I might try and get someone tomorrow, if I can, to pull out a phone and just show what I'm going through, because at the front of this catamaran in the corner, we've laid some mats down. But, you know, there's rigging from a mast, there's flags, there's all sorts of stuff, and it's blowing 15, 20 knots. The boat's rocking around, moving, and you get the drone down. And every time I get the drone down, my sort of heart's racing, and people don't see it. And then it's, you know, if I get through tomorrow's final and the drone's safe and everything, I'll just see it as if, you know, as a big win.
But I can honestly say, just looking at the comments coming in, everyone is super appreciative of all the behind the scenes stuff. Obviously, the drone flying. If you haven't subscribed to this man's YouTube channel, if you've watched the one video that went a bit viral on my channel, which he did, and I had a few people like stopping the beer money saying, if you're going to be working with this guy, that's it, I'm off. I hope you've retracted your
that's
statement.
right. Yeah. I know.
So, yeah.
I know. Yeah.
That's the way it goes, man. But I think you've definitely
it was an
made amends.
Oh yeah, no. Look, it's been a really good experience, and I said I was going to share a few stories with you. Again, the videos will explain it better, but you know, they've organised the Fiji Broadcasting Corporation to come on to set up all this equipment, and I mean, if you see the setup, it's pretty impressive, and like. It was like being on a bit of a Hollywood movie, because you've got Brian, who's a professional producer, you know, basically, and he's very good. You know, he's like, he knows exactly what to do, all the lingo, and like, where's the comms, this and that. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, making YouTube videos seemed easy compared to what they were doing, and then the event was about to start. Okay, we're on, you know, at 2:30, that's first, or 3 p.m. first heat. And then what happens? Well, then the rain comes. Yeah, okay. Well, now, so basically there's a heat about to start. We're on a boat with a studio set up under a tarp thing. So next thing you know, people are ripping out tarps, the wind's blowing, shit everywhere. I'm just there going, this is a freaking, not a disaster, but, you know, it's just like, how are we going to pull this off or something? And then like one of the Fiji production crew, just like, because there's like they're huddled under this thing, and then one of them just gets seasick, and I'm like standing behind them with my drone and a box of all this equipment, and he just turns around and just throws up, like he's because he gets seasick, he's just like vomit everywhere, like it's pissing rain, it's vomit. You know, people are like, for about 5 seconds, everyone's just staring at this pile of vomit there, just like a bit shell shocked, like, oh, okay. And I'm just sitting there going, the heat's starting in like 5 minutes. Like, what? I haven't got the drone up, dude. I haven't got the drone up. It's like, there's like bits of vomit on my drone case, and then like I just, like I said.
Oh shit!
And then anyway,
I can imagine that feeling right there. It's like almost just like you're not there. You're like, what the hell's going on? You can already hear the YouTube comments coming through. Where's the stream? Like,
oh, exactly. And then like, you get the trolls that commenting, oh, you guys are useless, and then I'm just like, dude, I'm cleaning vomit off my feet. Like, anyway, no, it's it's just what you want to hear, as you're trying to clean yourself up. There's people hurling abuse at you. But no, but then, you know, it's amazing, you know, like this whole flotilla. There was actually 11 boats, including ours, that went out to the reef. I mean, it's pretty serious, all the gear. And then when we're out there, then, you know, the rain stopped, you know, just before the heat started. The rain cleared. Quick, get your drone up. Bam, there goes the drone. We're live. 5, 4, 3, you know, that kind of thing. It's just, and then you're out there, and it was interesting. This is the second event I've ever been to in my life, and I think this second one I've chosen something quite unique.
Well, for sure. I mean, that is like out of the frying pan into the fire, or whatever they say. You know, like you've literally hit the top straight. You know, I mean, a lot of those things that you're saying, are normal, like very, very normal for any competition. But I mean, added extra that you've got to go out to a reef and you're on a boat in the middle of nowhere, so you're dealing with seasickness, which is just because I thought that I'm not the best at rocking for constantly 5 hours. It's like,
Yeah, well, that's right.
ugh.
Some people get seasick. Luckily, I don't suffer. I don't seem to suffer from it, so it wasn't an issue for me. But yeah, no, it's obviously a thing. So no, it was interesting, and like for anyone out there wondering why they held the comp in conditions today, is because obviously they're trying to get a result. There's a certain window. There is a potential forecast for tour at the very end of the window.
Yeah, I saw that. It goes a bit weird, doesn't it? Actually, let me just put the forecast on, because I was looking, thinking, yeah, I can see that they had to do it today. That literally had to.
Well, yeah, I mean the call was they couldn't. It was either try and do 10 heats in one day or break it up with 6 and 4 and 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't read that, but anyway.
Well, basically, it looks to me like there's a chance tomorrow. Today looked the strongest day, obviously, and tomorrow it's like the afternoon. It does kick in, but it looks lighter.
Are you able to zoom in a bit more? Because I'm actually doing this live stream on my iPhone, so it's really small. Okay.
That's today and tomorrow.
Okay, so today, yeah. See, tomorrow the wind is
it's not as
iffy, and okay, so the swell. Okay, yeah, because I think this. What's it saying there for swell? 1.5 meters.
Well, the swell goes up, not goes. The period goes down a little bit, but still solid. It still should be contestable, I would say.
Yeah, because I've been looking. I've got I check a website that shows all the swell, like all the charts, and it's showing, like 8 foot. So I think. I mean, your forecast may be correct, but the forecast I'm seeing looks a bit more promising than what I'm seeing on yours.
Okay. Like I said, I think you don't know. From my experience of these type of places, if the wind is in the right direction, then you've got a good enough chance. That's all you need. The only thing that always scares me is when the next days are lighter, which these are, because then usually that sort of day that you're on kind of drifts off. But I'm just going to cross the fingers and hope that you guys get it. But then, like, there is a forecast on the end, like on the 11th, which is the last day, which you don't want to go that far, which is around here.
And that's the thing. Like, you run the risk of, because the forecasts have been changing daily.
Yeah.
So I guess the call was made. Let's just play it relatively safe, and we'll have the finals in, hopefully really good waves tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, that sounds like, I think that's when it's going to have to be done. I mean, you're going to be pushing anyway, because you've got to get the women in as well. They've not entered the water yet. So I can see it's going to be a bit stressful over there. Like, and that's why everyone was saying, why only a single elimination? You're like, well, first we got to finish the single elimination before you moan about not doing the double.
Yeah. No, exactly. So, no, look, I think it was the right call in the end, as tough as it is. I mean, a lot of the riders would have loved to have seen bigger waves. But I can tell you now, if we had to do 10 heats in one day, that would have been really, really stressful. Like, because it's, just the conditions in Fiji. It's not like the wind comes up at 10 a.m. in the morning or 11 a.m. You generally start sailing around 2 p.m.
Yeah.
And so you don't have heaps of time to get through it all, or like 1 p.m. or whatever. But it's and then it can die off pretty quick as well. Like, it's not like it doesn't howl into the night. Like, as soon as the sun goes down, the wind shuts down pretty quickly as well sometimes.
Yeah.
So you've only got a few hours to get it all done, really. But no, it'll be good. And like I said, tomorrow, assuming that it's sailable and the waves are good, and it should be a pretty good ending to the competition.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. Like Baz saying here, is there a chance of shorter heats?
Well, yeah, they can, but then it obviously the sailors start getting nervous and complain because they don't have enough time to get back upwind, especially if the
Yeah.
wind's light. You know, there's a lot of putting around. You know, within that 28 minute heat, you know, usually, you know, if you get 2 good waves, you're doing well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And sometimes
I
there's
mean,
lulls. Yeah.
I was going to say, I was looking for the results and listening to what Bernd said earlier. It's like there was 2 different tactics, which obviously it's the same in every comp, but you either wait and be patient and you get, you know, you think you're going to get you 2 good waves, or you scratch around and you pretty much take everything. And sometimes that can be both tactics can work, depending on how the heat pans out. So yeah, it's interesting, must say. Looking at the results coming through, I think there's already some interesting things going on and lots to talk about. And I'm looking forward to seeing the finals.
No, definitely. No, I'm actually really looking forward to it too, because when this event started, you know, everyone was all pretty casual about it all, and it's not like people are super stressed or anything, but I can see the competitive fire starting to come out. Like when you're, you know, like they take it really quite seriously, the sailors. You know, when we go out there, I get that, but it's like, it's not something I'm used to. You know, they're out there, they're, you know, multiple boards, bringing up multiple sails, they're in the water, they're shouting, when's the heat? You know, like they're very engaged in what's going on. They're not fluffing around too much when they're out there. You know, it's kind of interesting to see. And when they
No, carry on.
Oh no! And when they win, you can see how, you know, happy they are about it. And when they lose, you can tell that they feel a little bit deflated. So it obviously does mean something to them. Yeah.
I think it's huge. It's you know, sometimes bigger than people can imagine. Like I saw the pictures of Federico the other day when he beat, you know, Brasinio in that heat and, you know, won it. You could see just in the pictures on his Instagram that, you know, that is massive, you know, and that's sometimes the one thing that maybe gives the sponsors that extra bit of enthusiasm to keep supporting you, or to keep, you know, private sponsors keep supporting you, or gives you the motivation to carry on, because maybe you questioned yourself at some point and you thought, is this me? Do I need to get a proper job? Do I need to, you know, do something else in life? And sometimes these questions are real, you know, and you need that one heat, that one result, that one thing that keeps you going, okay, I'm going the right way. Things are working out. And it can be the opposite. You know, those faces you see can be from people going, maybe that's me, you know, maybe it's not worth it. Maybe, you know, they start contemplating life. It's big.
No, I can definitely see that. Because it's tough. You know, like it's not like the sailors are raking in big bucks like they used to. So these wins can mean the difference between maybe picking up a sponsor or not, or, you know, you know what I mean? Like it is like that, isn't it?
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just reading. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I was going to try and wrap it up and say, because I'm sure you've had a long day and you're probably like, Jesus Christ, you're just on autopilot, because I know what it's like. You're just like, okay. And then you put the mic down and just asleep.
Yeah. Actually, it's kind of weird. If I was back home, I would have been dead. But like I said, it's like when you're running on adrenaline, it seems to keep going. But I'm sure, I don't know, at some stage I might just completely crash and sleep for a week. I don't know. Also about tomorrow, it hasn't been confirmed, but I was hearing some murmurings that there'll possibly be a second drone pilot for tomorrow. So that would be cool, because you know, I did miss a couple of waves and the battery changeovers, and just having some different angles, and because the camera on the boat, you know, it was tricky because they're on tripods, the boat's moving around, so, you know, those shots were not, you know what I mean, like they weren't as clear as the drone, I guess. So having another drone pilot will be good, but we'll remain and see. Otherwise, I'll just do my best, and you know, I'll get as many waves as I can, and hopefully get it close to the action.
Yeah, well, I'm going to catch up with it at some point. Like I said, I'm kind of had a scratch through it. Interesting to see the day, interesting to see the results. If you haven't heard the results, I'm just going to go through it before we kick off. But Paul, I'll let you go, mate. I'll let you go. You go get some sleep. do what you got to
Yeah,
do.
cool.
Hey,
No,
mate.
cool, Benny. And
Hey, mate,
no,
off.
thanks for having me on. And I'm actually, it works good actually. Like I can just, you can say you're having a podcast with me, but I just hand it over to someone else, and they can do all the talking. I kind of like enjoying that at the moment.
No, but it's good. It's like I said,
Yeah.
I think for everyone at here, I can just talk for me anyway, from Europe as a fan. That's what you want to see. You want to have those little different of opinions, the different stuff.
Yeah.
And I know it's not easy to get riders to do that because I've tried to do it before. And like I said, when they lose, they're too upset. When they win, they're too sick. Like they don't want to jinx it, so they don't want to talk it up. So it's always interesting. But I'm glad Bernd came on because I thought that was really insightful. Actually, some good info there as well. Some fun stories. Yeah. And I'm loving your story about the seasickness. That just I can totally imagine it. I'm literally picturing that, And I know when it starts to rain, all the drone pilots just go, oh, and then you see the live crew gonna go, well, that's our camera. If it's raining, we're done.
But it was just, you had to be there because like it was just constant activity. People running around, do this, chords, we need that, blah 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 blah. Then the guy turns around, and like just for 5 seconds, everything stopped, and everyone's just staring at this pile of spirit. You know that it's like that sort of mild shock where you're just like, oh, okay, someone's just thrown up. Okay, just add that to the list of things going on right now. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Before I go, Benny, what's your who are you picking for the win? Have you got anybody?
That is a very good point, and I should have probably already have someone in my head, but I'm looking at the heats. There's 8 riders: Ricardo Campello, Baptiste Clarec, Antoine, Robbie Swift, Antoine Martin. I would say from what I've seen in the video, Antoine Martin, Baptiste Clarec look on form. They look like they're dialed in. Yep. I'm obviously a Marc Paré fan, and I think he maybe didn't have his best day on the first day. I think he was quite upset about how he was sailing, even though he went through. And I think that fires him up, and it might suit him, these type of ways that we've got at the moment. We will have to see. Again, I haven't seen the scores on his heat today. But so, yeah, but, I like to see the guys that have showed it in the big stuff come through as well, because I think they probably... I'll say, yeah, maybe they deserve it more. Like they've already showed what they can do in that sort of side of it. So yeah,
no,
I think,
sure. So who are you
I'd
saying
like
then?
to see Baptiste or Antoine. I've said, and I think Paré could do it.
No, I think that's a pretty good prediction. Those 2 guys are sailing amazing at the moment. That Baptiste, I actually didn't know much about him before I turned up here. I haven't always been following it, but he's a freak, that kid. He's so good.
He's not, honestly, he's nuts. If you've ever sailed with him, you don't want to sail with him. He lands on you, he jumps above you, he's always smiling. You're like, oh my god.
Like watching him is like watching a computer game or something. It's like, okay, before I go, Benny, just very quickly.
Yeah.
We have our there's our director of live stream, Brian. Say hello. This is Ben Prophet. He's Mr. Windsurfing.
Hey, Ben Prophet.
How are we doing, man?
Ben Prophet, how are you?
Did it go seamless today? I haven't managed to obviously watch it in full. I had a quick scan through. It looked good, and a lot of good comments I'm seeing coming through.
Yeah, well, it's a thing pulling this all together, especially when you're 2 miles out to sea and you're dependent on a Ethernet feed. And we're very lucky. I think Vodafone is one of our sponsors here. They have prioritized the tower right at the point out at Kurukuru. So we're able to bring this broadcast to you. There was a lot of struggle last year, I think, with the signal strength, and having them come on board was a real helpful thing. And I think also what everybody's trying to do here is learn and to build off of what's been done before, because I think we're getting the numbers and we're getting an audience that seems to be growing daily. I mean, I think Paul has done an incredible job here, bringing a lot of like behind the scenes and insightful information and in-depth interviews.
Yeah.
And even just color to everything that's happening here. I think it's been, I've been behind the camera on many of your live from podcasts here, listening to all of the questions and all of the great commentary and insights and fun that you are having, you know, really literally on the other side of the world from where we are here. And I think we've been feeling bolstered by that, and we've been feeling excited by you know, the interest, the numbers, the viewership, everything is up for this event.
Yeah.
Day one delivered in a big way. And I think day two kind of was equally compelling in some different conditions.
Yes.
But what I saw from behind the screens and from behind the cameras was the riders that knew how to like the smart riders were able to find waves and still be very impressive, extremely impressive in really difficult conditions. But like they were 100% rideable. I mean, you know, for example, I'll say like on day one, the wind was really light, but the swell was great. And I'm looking at Paul because I just know how many drone batteries he was running through on day one. And today his total flight time was diminishing because he was burning through the batteries because he was fighting the wind all day. And we had to land a lot more, but because the wind was up, the swell was down. But we saw this amazing, gigantic full moon come up when we were coming home, and the moon is definitely playing a thing with the tides. But there's a big swell coming in. Tomorrow's looking really rideable, so we're really excited for the broadcast tomorrow. We're really excited for everything you've been doing there, Mr. Prophet, and keep up the good work. And we're gonna keep up the good work here. And I think I don't know. That's all I really got to say.
Now, Matt, but it's like I said, it's perfect. The only thing, if we could change anything, would be the time difference. You know, like it's nice to wake up and they've all happened, but I mean, for you guys on the live, obviously, it's Europe's quite a big market, I would say, for that live stream. And I know if that was live European normal time, the numbers would be like crazy. But they're going to get to watch it, and that's the great thing with YouTube. You can do the rewatch. I mean, what would be amazing, which would take somebody like, I can take a viewer to do it, but if someone timestamped the YouTube channel, which is just a job in itself, but maybe someone in Europe who's listening to this is bored today, I'm busy, but could just timestamp certain things. And I tell you, this also would make like almost like a highlight reel of the day's action. But again, it's a job that it's going to take someone the whole time to do.
Well, what I'll tell you is that's what everybody has in store. What everybody has in store, and what we're trying to drive for here is to make that accessible. So the idea is growth. The idea is how do we make really compelling content? Because I'm going to tell you this. My brother-in-law is Simeon Glasson, who runs the IWT. I have never been to an IWT event or any type of windsurfing event before in my life. But for the last 5 years, I have followed closely on Instagram a lot of the channels and really understood and spoken with him quite a bit about the trials and tribulations and where the sport's heading and what he really wants to do. Because, I mean, he's a guy who has, he was a pro rider when he was 18 years old, and he is far older than 18 these days, and has gone through the entire life cycle of professional windsurfing. I was, we were over at my parents-in-law's house, my mother and father-in-law's house, Simeon's parents' house, for a little family dinner 2-3 months ago, and his mom came out with this box of magazines from the 1980s, which is like all these old windsurfing magazines that, I mean, like, you look at those magazines and it's like they were skateboard surf, like the top magazines. There's ads with every rider. I mean, this was a monthly subscription that he was a diehard fan about. I mean, it brought me right back to my like skateboard days in Los Angeles, is where I grew up. I was Thrasher magazine, Thrasher magazine, sorry.
Yeah.
Thrasher magazine, and my skateboard days in the 80s of LA and early 90s. And it was the same scene in these windsurfing magazines. Like literally, I saw the exact same idea and visuals and vibe. And it was rock and roll, and it was really like cool. And windsurfing has gone through its trials and tribulations, but I think that it's really exciting. I heard about that. It's really exciting about this new crop of riders. I heard your predictions, and I think you're spot on. I mean, I think there's a lot of like really incredible young talents here at this tour. There's also one person that I would like to call out is Robbie Swift. Like Robbie, he's a seasoned pro, and what I've seen in his progression through the event so far has been, he's been winning his heats. He's been finding the best waves. He's been kind of conserving where he needs to, but delivering where he needs to exactly at the same time. He has not been outshone in his heats, and he has enough experience. He has enough knowledge of these conditions. He was here at Cloudbreak last year, so he's not unfamiliar with the ebbs and flow of this wave and this reef, and what the swell can do and what the wind can deliver out here.
I would be worried. Like my comment on that, I'd be worried that there's Antoine Martin Baptiste Clarec who they don't back down. So they will go crazier than someone, but it could fall flat because they'll go too hard. But if one of them delivers, they will probably win. Whereas Swift is probably a good bet for the podium, but to win, I think you've got to really risk it. And I don't know who's got the balls to risk it.
And I would just say, an experienced veteran knows that you don't find yourself shish kebabbed early, but you go for broke when it matters. So will he really risk it and really go for it when it comes down to it? You better fucking believe it. He will. Yeah, I know. I know he will, because I can see it in his eyes. I can definitely see it in his eyes, and I hope he can deliver, and I hope he can really make a strong challenge in the finals or the semis and get there. But I also think you're absolutely right. I think the Clarecs and the Martins and the Pares, and there's a really solid run going on right now by them, and that they're only getting more confident. But I like the drama. I think it's awesome. I think that there's
you need the drama. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
I'm loving it. I'm really
like,
loving
I was
it.
Actually, weirdly, I was saying to someone the other day. I was saying to someone the other day, you look at the amazing footage of the big waves and everything, and it's great. I can see that. But what I like about competition is the moments that he has to hit this. If he doesn't hit it, he's not through to the next round. He is out. And that's the moment when you're watching live. It's very difficult to beat those moments, because the moments just in sailing are big moments. But when they're for getting through, not getting through, literally your career is depending on a hit, and it's mast and a half high.
I'm really, that makes me feel excellent that you're actually feeling a bit of that from the live stream. But the ability to do that has a large part to do with this gentleman sitting next to me, Paul Van Bellen. And you want to talk about a magician on that drone, you should be talking about Paul Van Bellen. I mean, we are today, day one was just ideal and magical. Like the wind was enough, but the swell was big, but where we were parked off the boat, it felt kind of gentle. Today the wind was up and it got really rocky where our position is. We pulled in much tighter because the tide was lower. So we parked our boat much more into the wave breaking area, where on day one, where we were parked and operating from on the cloud break or the thundercloud, we would have been in the wave on day one, and we were well off the wave on day two. But it definitely made it more rocky, and it was much windier. And we have I don't know, I would call it a 6 by 6 foot window, a 2 meter by 2 meter window. If that, I don't even think it's 2 meters. That Paul had to bring this drone constantly in, out, battery recharge, send it back off, get it back out there.
Yeah.
And I think the imagery that he was able to deliver really plays into this drama, and was able to really show you the progression and how this was all going down. And I was in awe all day about the work that Paul was doing. And
I agree. Like I said,
I hope everybody at home feels the same way.
From what I watched, it looked good. But go charge the batteries. Go get some sleep.
I'm getting emotional right now.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Is that the mist of cloud break in the corner of your eye, or is that a tear over there, Paul?
All right, boys, I'm going to go. So thanks so very much for tuning in. Keep up the good work, and I'll be tuning in for the finals. Maybe I'm going to stay up late. Let's see.
See you tomorrow.
Bye,
it's only getting better.
Okay, so there we go. That is it. That's your podcast from Fiji. There will not be a Sunday today, because I'm going to do the finals as well. Like I said, if you did listen to the intro of this, it probably didn't sound right because someone said they couldn't hear me talking over the video. I thought I did a pretty good intro, but it's all wrong. But stay tuned to the channel. Stay tuned to obviously Paul Van Bellen's channel. He's going to be bringing out some behind the scenes, and obviously the live stream is coming at you on the IWT YouTube channel. I will put the link on Windsurfing.TV on the website, but if you go to YouTube, IWT, it should be on there, and you have to click live. It's not easy to find it, so I will link it on the website on Windsurfing.TV. But until then, thanks for tuning in, and have a good Sunday, and we'll see you later for the finals. And the women as well, they're coming up too.